Hey founders, my name is Abduriani and thank you very much for watching another session of Startup Circle. If you missed this live guidance session, we look forward to having you live in the next ones, answering your questions live and contributing to the success of your entrepreneurial journey. Keith, once again, thank you very, very much for being here, man. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
definitely. Good to talk to you again. Good to be here. Super excited.
Me too. Awesome. Well, last year, I think it was in May, we had a meeting, we had a call, and you were telling me about this launch, this new product that you're launching. You had a huge successful background in marketing. You still have, you still probably work with a few entrepreneurs or a few companies, but now you're focused more on running your venture segmetrics.
Yep.
So, at a high level, before I ask some specific questions, tell us what happened in a year and in a couple of months.
It's been a whirlwind, to be honest. If you ask me, what happened a year ago, I don't even remember. But I know that we have tripled revenue since last year, which is awesome. Um, it's growing. I think we finally hit our product market fit. We understand our customers, and once that snaps, it's just a matter of building up that engine to bring people in because we know what converts them, we know what they're struggling with, and we know how we can solve that problem. So now it's just so much stuff going at such a high speed to catch up. Because, like you said, I mean, we started this 4 years ago, and there was just so long until we hit that product market fit that now that we've hit it, we just need to catch up with all the stuff that we hadn't done for years. So
Look,
exciting time.
Carlos is in fact, I mean, Naaman, I'm really eager to hear your progress, and I haven't talked a lot with you. So I know Carlos though, and I know that he's at a point right now where he is, he's launched the first versions of the product. He continues to improve the product, and he is seeking that point, that product market fit point, or at least some traction leading to product market fit. So what were the highlights, Keith? If you had to kind of, pick 2, 3, 4 milestones that you've hit over the past 3 to 4 years that you can remember,
Hmm.
what were those?
As far as getting that product market fit,
Yes, correct.
the biggest one is probably going to be realizing that agencies are our biggest customer because not only just a quick super high level, we're an analytics platform for people who try for marketers, right? And what we thought was that people are going to have in-house analytics people, or they're going to be interested, like the product owner is going to be really interested in the analytics, and they are not. Product developers are not numbers people at all. Product like marketing product developers. So what we realize is that there's going to be someone on the team, or there's going to be an agency. There's someone whose job it is to improve that marketing, and they need to be able to say, hey, this is how much we improved your marketing for the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month you pay us, right? And those people work with multiple different companies. So having an agency, focusing on agencies and focusing on agencies being able to track all of their customers in one spot was a huge game changer. Agencies make up probably 70% of our revenue, even though they are a smaller number of actual customers.
All right. So the first step was realizing that agencies were your ideal customers. So in general, your first step was identifying your most valuable segment, the company, sort of the people that you
Exactly.
that are most that need your solution the most. They're most likely to pay for your solution, and that obviously are willing to not use it once, but use it continuously because it provides continuous value to them and to their customers. So what are some of the
Exactly.
things you did to identify this segment?
So the main one is talking to people and getting out from. So I'm super introverted. I would rather, and that's why I'm a marketer. I'm not in sales because I like sitting behind my computer and coding and coming up with ideas and designing pages and doing all that stuff. And that works once you have found product market fit. It does not work in the beginning, especially for our industry. Different industries are different, but for us, going out there, going to conventions, going to local meetups, talking to people, building relationships, like getting on the phone 3 to 4 times a week with different people, touching base, like the whole thing that I hate doing because I'm super introverted is what I needed to be doing. And once we realized that, that's where it kind of kicked that off. And as an advice piece, that would be my advice, is like, do the things that you are not comfortable doing, because getting out there and talking to people is what I'm not comfortable doing. And that's what really helped us grow.
At that stage, Keith, when you were, and by the way, I'm asking all those questions because I know those are very important answers for Carlos specifically, and Naaman, again, you'll be able to unmute the microphone and tell us later if you'd like. So searching for that ideal segment, Keith, product development wise, what are some of the things you did? Did you stop and talked, or did you continue to build even though you didn't know who the ideal buyer is, and talk to customers?
So what should I have done, or what did I actually do? Because those are two different things.
Talk about both.
Yeah, so we did keep building, mainly because, talking about safe spaces, and there's always a default that you go back to, and mine is programming. Mine is building features, figuring out how data goes together. That's what I enjoy. And so I ended up building a lot of things that people would have mentioned, like customers would mention to me, that didn't have a higher plan, but were like, I wonder if this would be useful. I bet this would be useful. I spent a lot of time on these things that ultimately didn't go anywhere. And now I have to deal with them for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, until I can figure out how to sunset them. What I should have done, and what I kind of had mixed in there, is not building anything, but just talking to people. Like, whether that is surveys to our email list, or getting on the phone with VIPs or people in our industry who are the movers and shakers. So, for example, there's a guy, Chris Mercer, who we've actually known for a while through Segmetrics, and I reconnected with him at Traffic Conversion, which is a big conference for our niche. And I was like, hey, I really want to talk to you about this. We've done a lot of work over the last 4 years. You haven't seen it in 4 years. I'd really like to see what's going on with this. And he let me into this whole understanding of these analytic agencies and what features they need, because he's a coach and he helps people build out these dashboards. And he's like, if you're not having these 3 features, there's nothing you can do. Right there, you are not valuable to this entire segment of people because you do not have this feature. And we're like, wow. And we went through our customer support tickets, and we're like, wait a minute, people have been asking this like for months and years. And it's like, wait a minute, maybe we need to go down this road. So that was a piece of, it was not research, and it was not an idea that came out of my mind. It was something that specifically came from, I know that there is an audience for this. I know that there are people who want to do it, and there is an expert in the field who says, look, as soon as this is in, I can recommend it to these 300, 400 people, right? Because it's a feature that they all need. So, go ahead.
Actually, my follow-up question was going to be, all right, talking to customers is a continuous process, but what's the turning point? When do you know that, all right, we've accumulated enough information that we know what to build and we should build? In your case, it was finding some expert in the industry combined with all, the data that you've collected over the years from all of those interviews and support tickets. And then did you actually, go ahead, I kept stopping you. What do you want?
No. I was actually going to run off of that a little bit and say, at the end of the day, I think it's a monetary thing. It's, if I have a bunch of people asking for something that are customers or can be customers, then that goes higher on the roadmap, right? If I have someone that is core to an industry, core to a segment of people that I want to go after for my business, that I think that this group of people will do well for my business, and they're like, you have to have this feature, well, then that's something we need to research more and figure out how we're going to do it and build into that. One of the things that I know is a huge distraction is, and especially for me, every time I get a customer support ticket, it's like, hey, I'd like to have this in the report. I'm like, man, that would take like 10 minutes to do. I'll go build it right now. And now I have to support this thing, and I probably didn't think it through all the way, and it's probably not a good feature for people going forward. Like, for one example, we had this one customer who really wanted time zone reporting, right? They wanted to be able to change all the time zones in the report to their local time zone. And it was really tough. Like, it was a lot of work, and then they canceled. And I was like, oops, like, it is an important feature, but no one was signing up or not signing up because of that. And I'm glad that I have it now, but was it worth the week and a half, 2 weeks it took to develop that feature, right? So it's always, hindsight's 2020, and it's always a difficult balancing act of, is this going to turn out and grow the business, or is this just a feature that's going to cause technical debt?
What helps you make that decision now, Keith? Now, after talking to the expert and gathering, all the feedback that you've gathered to build the core, what helps you make a decision to build the next stages of segmetrics?
I have in my mind, and from research, we have a number of core, what I call problems with the product, right? And they're not problems like bugs, they're problems like, it is difficult for people to get up and running without a kickoff call. I would like to somehow make it easier for people to do that. So that's a core problem that we just have a lot of research that says people have trouble getting started. So how do we make that easier? So that's a core part. And as we get advice from people or support tickets, or we talk to people, we start realizing, well, this is how people expect this to flow, and this is how we're doing it that's not gelling with that flow, right? And we do that for everything. So we do that for, okay, people don't get value every month because they're not analytical people. They don't want to go in and look at the report. So how do we push that to them? Kind of like what Moz.com does with an email notification. And how do we make that smarter, right? So it's not just numbers, it's telling them what they need to do. So we have a number of these different problem sets and columns that we want to focus on. And then as information comes in from our support tickets and from talking to leaders in the industry, we kind of figure out what is the most important part. And one thing that we finally started doing 4 months ago is dog fooding segmetrics. And so if you don't know what dog fooding is, it's essentially using your own product for yourself, right? Not in like a testing way, but all our marketing goes through segmetrics now. And it has been eye-opening on some of the things. It's like, yeah, this feature that we've gotten a couple of support tickets about is really, really annoying. And we really need to fix this, but we weren't in it every day. We didn't know, right? I didn't have my VA and other people on the team. Like, I know the software backwards and forwards, but my VA doesn't. Other people on the team don't necessarily. So now they're complaining to me. It's like, Keith, what the hell were you thinking when you did this, right? And that's, once you are in it every day and you're not the one necessarily using it, and you have that direct feedback, is so valuable.
Keith, 4 years later, in one sentence, why are people using segmetrics? You have a bunch of features right now, but what is it that, what's the wow feature or wow product solutions problem that segmetrics solves?
It's really that lifetime value, especially a lifetime value of a customer that comes from a certain source or does a certain thing. So Facebook ads, lifetime value is $10 or maybe $100 per lead you get in, right? So now that tells you exactly how much money you're able to spend on Facebook ads. And you also know how long it takes for them to be worth that. So if you have cash flow issues, you need to make sure that they get higher value quicker. If you don't, you can play the long game and say, I know these people are going to be worth $100 in the next 6 months. I can play the long game and buy them for $40 up front because I know they're going to be worth that. And being able to do that for every step in your funnel, being able to say, this Facebook ad brings in people at $50. This Facebook ad, people are worth $100. People who see the webinar from this Facebook ad are worth $120. People who see the replay are worth X dollars. And just being able to map out what points in your funnel improve or reduce the amount of value that your customers are. Like that's to me, that's the biggest value that people are getting.
But obviously you have to fuel that funnel and the software with data before you can start measuring and analyzing and deciding. Yeah.
And well, one of the great things that we do, because we are connected to your CRM and your e-commerce checkout, we get all that historical data. So you can actually start on day one and say, hey, look, this webinar I ran 6 months ago, this is how much people are worth now.
Okay. Clear. Keith, in terms of customer acquisition, How did it go with the first 100 buyers, paying customers?
Poorly, slowly. um, to be honest, it's interesting because we just, like I said, 4 months ago, we finally started this acquisition channel tracking and understanding where people are coming from. So it was a little bit hit and miss. And our biggest, now that we're tracking this, we're able to understand a little bit better. But that first 100, and really even now, our biggest customer acquisition is through word of mouth. And this is very much an aspect of the industry that we're working in where you have someone who is a leader in the industry or someone who's an agency. They're like, hey, we're going to start working with you. We're going to improve your funnel. You have to sign up for Segmetrics because that's what we use to track everything. And then people see, oh, look, Eben Pagan's using Segmetrics. He knows what he's doing. We should use Segmetrics too. And then it's just this ripple effect going down. And that's honestly been our biggest customer generating system and funnel. We do Facebook ads, we do Google ads. We're starting up a better content generation plan because it's been kind of half-assed the whole time. But honestly, that referral and that social proof has been our biggest driver.
So about the referral piece, Keith, do you think it's scalable? Can you really build like a $10, $100 million business through referrals? It's just a general question. What are your thoughts?
Not straight referrals, no. I think not at this scale. Like if you're a consultancy, if you're like an agency, yes, you definitely can because I've done it. But at this scale where the average value is $200 a month, customer value is probably somewhere around $1,500, $2,000 lifetime. You can't do it all through referrals, but what referrals do is they give you that social proof. So we're constantly on Facebook, we're answering questions, we're in a bunch of groups, and when people say, hey, I'm trying to figure out how much this tag is worth, how do I do that? Or my Facebook ad numbers aren't tying into what my revenue actually is. Like, what's going on there? I'll be like, hey, this is how you would fix it. Also recommend Segmetrics. This is how I would fix it. Check out Segmetrics, kind of thing. And that gets us in front of people. And then they're like, well, what's this Segmetrics thing? And then they see, oh, this person I know and trust is using it. Oh, they have this case study with John Lee Dumas. Oh my God. Or they have this case study with Dr. Axe or Eben Pagan or whoever, like any of those of our past customers, our current customers, agencies that are recommending us, etc. So it's not referrals in the you should go check this out because it's awesome. It's more of a total social awareness. Exactly.
Clear.
Exactly.
Which makes it at least slightly more scalable, per se.
Yeah. In our industry, it's very much a kind of copycat industry in a way. When people are successful and they're using a tool, that's what everyone starts using. It's why you see proof and FOMO everywhere. Those little pop-ups that say so-and-so purchased 10 minutes ago. Any tools like that, once someone is very successful with the tool and able to show, hey, we're increasing revenue, everyone's like, I want to increase my revenue, and heads on over and tries it out.
Awesome. Clear. Carlos, Naaman, Ulysses, feel free to jump in. I think this is a great time. It gives us enough time to ask Keith as many questions as you'd like. So whoever wants to go first, if you obviously want to go first. So here's Naaman want to go first.
Yeah. Hi, Abdu.
Hi, how are you? I'm sorry if I've been pronouncing your name, wrong.
It's Naman.
Naman.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, guys. I'm from India. Hello, Keith. It was great listening you explain your experience. I myself try to build things and try to make products that customer want. I have a quick question for you if you can answer. Throughout your whole experience of building Segmetrics, what do you think is one thing or one step that can build or break a startup?
I don't think that anything is non-recoverable. We've made a ton of mistakes, and we've always been able to recover. having built multiple startups and also built products for other people, at the early stages, one thing that is definitely makes it so much harder is to over-engineer your product. And that means building a lot of features that you don't know if people are going to want or not, or you think that people are going to want. That really makes it very hard to grow and makes it very hard to shift if you have found out that your product market fit is not where you thought you were going originally. So, quick example, the previous startup I was working on is called Summit Evergreen. It was online courseware. And we had worked with tons of online product creators who were building online courses. We had built multiple iterations of the software as one-off pieces of software for these people. And we were like, well, if we're building the same thing, let's turn it into a SaaS. And we built in all the features we thought we would need, all the features that we've seen from our customers. And what we didn't realize was that we were working with the upper echelons, people who are doing a launch and making $10 million, $12 million, $20 million in a single launch. That's not most of our customers. So we had all these features that none of our customers wanted, needed, or even cared about, but then we have to support because there's still one or two people on our software using that. So we had all this technical debt that we couldn't get rid of because we thought we knew what our customers needed in the beginning. So with Segmetrics, we did the opposite. Our first version of Segmetrics spit out a text file. Like you put in 4 tags and it spit out a little text file that said, hey, here's your numbers. And people were like, this is great. And we just kind of iterated and built on that. So over-engineering, especially in the beginning before you have product market fit, is probably the most dangerous thing I've seen when building a new startup.
Yeah, completely got your point, and I can even relate it to my personal experience. I
Yeah.
also worked on a startup that tried to give an platform to small retail stores to in real time sync their inventory and at the same time be part of a larger marketplace where people can order uh, daily groceries.
Mm-hmm.
They can see the real time inventory maintained by the store. From where I come from, this is a problem. The current retailers, the current online retailers, don't show the real-time inventory from the stores. So there's always a gap between the customer and the stores. The
Mm-hmm.
customers want to buy something from the platform. The store doesn't have it because the inventory is not synced. So it's always a gap. So we wanted to fix this. We wanted to maintain a real-time inventory from the store. But as you said, we over-engineered the product. We added a lot of features. After entering in the market, we came to know that all the features we built, nobody cared about those things
Yeah.
because they don't have the time to use those features. In a normal retail store, in its day-to-day operations, it's very difficult to maintain inventory in a
Yep.
real time. In
Yep.
a real time scenario, it's very difficult to maintain that inventory. So yeah, I completely get your point. And it's a very good point that we should not over-engineer the product. It's better to build something non-scalable at first, get customer to know about it, get the feedback, and I think work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith, Naman, do you have a question, final question perhaps before we move to Ulysses or Carlos?
Yes, one final thing I would like to ask Keith is, Keith, there are two approaches to entrepreneurship, as I believe. I have read two very famous books. One is Zero to One, as you might know, and
Mm-hmm.
one is The Lean Startup. So the Zero to One says that whenever you do something new, whenever you go from 0 to 1, that is when you win the startup battle.
Yeah.
The book focuses on how competition is bad. It focuses on monopoly in
Mm-hmm.
businesses. It says that whenever you have a monopoly in a market, you are the winner. And the other book says that there is a feedback loop in how you should approach. You should build some things. You should
Mm-hmm.
take a customer feedback and then improve it. It's an
Mm-hmm.
iterative process. So, what are your thoughts on these two approaches?
It's interesting. I'm not going to talk specifically about monopolies and whether they're good or bad. It is a way to control the market, So if you are the only one selling a product and it is a product in need, then from a business standpoint, the monopoly is good. But you're exactly right that if you are the only person providing this service when you are creating the startup, it's very hard to get started, right? Because you have a lot of hurdles. You have, how do you explain it to someone who's never seen this product, who doesn't know that they need this product, right? How do you find where people are in those watering holes? How do you find people to be your customers, et cetera? It's very hard to go from 0 to 1 if there's no one else out there, right? When you have competition, you know two things. First of all, it's a valid problem to solve. It's a valid business because someone else is already doing it. And number two, you know what they're doing and maybe how you can differentiate yourself, how you can do it better, but you know that there's a customer base and you know where to reach that customer base. It was interesting. The guys from FOMO gave a talk at a conference I went to 2 years ago. And if you know, I mentioned FOMO, it's the little thing that pops up that says, hey, so-and-so bought 10 minutes ago. And I had thought a couple of years ago, before I knew about FOMO, that would be a great feature to build. It'd take me a week, and then I'd have an awesome startup. And I was talking, and I was listening to them talk, and they were saying that they didn't build the software. They bought it from another company that had 10,000 customers, and I think it was 10,000 or something like that. And they didn't build the software. The software was really janky, but they needed that customer base because going from 0 to 1 is really tough. But once you have 5,000, 10,000 people, even if revenue isn't that high, you now have a jump off point that you can upsell them. You can use them to get referrals, to get recommendations, you have a start off place that's much higher than that 0 to 1. And it changed my way of thinking about how I would build software in the future, where I'd probably buy software that already existed. And because I'm a developer, I'd probably rewrite the software, but I'm not buying the software, I'm buying the user base, because it's so much easier to start from even 100 customers to get 1,000 customers than it is to start at 0 and get 100 customers.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Keith, Ulysses here is in the service business, right? You've spent many years as a service provider helping people with automation, with funnel optimization, and everything that has to do with conversion. You talked about referrals and the importance of referrals in growing your business. And from talking to Ulysses over the past few months, that's been one of the things he's trying to nurture. What can you tell us about, building your referral funnel, or building your or fueling your referral funnel so that you can make it, a stable, consistent way of generating clients?
Yeah. I am patently bad at it. So the fact that we've been able to make it successful is a small miracle, to be honest. But the master of this is actually Steli Efti. He runs Close.io. He had, I think it was ElasticSales.com was his old company, but he has a really good, some information on his website about how you do referrals well. And the whole idea is you don't wait till a project's over. You don't wait until you close a deal. When you're talking to someone, you're like, hey, this has been great talking with you. I want to know, is there anyone else you can think of that would be interested in my service, this product, etc., right? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I know someone. And you then follow up with that person. You CC the original person. And when you start working with that person, you send an email back to the original person, CC, so everyone's connected. It's like, thanks, John, for introducing me to Gary. We're working together. This is awesome. And the reason you do that is because people like that good feedback loop. They don't want to recommend someone and then just goes off into nowhere, or maybe it turned out bad. They don't know. They want to know, oh man, I recommended this person to Keith, and now they're both in a great relationship. They're happy, and they are thanking me for it, right? So it's this feedback loop, and you can just continue that on. That's something that we have been doing and trying to do on the consulting side. Referrals on the software side, like I said, I'm just bad at it, but it's all, you do it and it works. And it's the weirdest thing, because like I said, I'm introverted. I don't like bugging people, but as soon as you do, they respond. A little bit of a story. So I have a friend, Patrick McKenzie. He had Bingo Card Creator, which is a bingo card software for school teachers. Average age was, I think, 40 to 50, female, skews female. And he would send out an automated newsletter every month that said, here's the bingo cards of the month. And it was just completely automated. It came in from his system. And at the end, it said, hey, I'm a single founder. I do this in my spare time. Any support, everything. He got so many clicks on that to send it to other school teachers that was his one of his main acquisition channels, was just this newsletter that had a little footer that said, hey, I'd love a recommendation, right? And and if I get those, I'm like, whatever, right? Because I'm a marketer, I get 800 emails a day. I'm not going to forward on an automated email, but I am not my customers. And that was the biggest thing that he and I then realized, which is you have to understand what your customers are doing and how they respond to referrals, not how you would respond to a referral.
Those are some great insights, Ulysses. Why don't you jump in if you want to ask follow-up questions?
Thanks, Abdul. Thanks, Kate, for sharing. Sorry I was late. So maybe my question was responded already. I'm wondering, how did you started to sell, Kate? Since for me, technology has been very difficult to sell. And I don't know if you remember some of your first clients. Were they marketing guys, or were they CEOs in charge of the companies?
He's asking about the consulting side of your business, by the way.
Yeah. Yes. So the consulting side, I worked with, they were definitely the CEOs, but it was generally personality brand marketers, right? So it's someone like Ramit Sethi, Evan Pagan, those types of people who have made a brand around themselves. And Ramit Sethi was actually my first client, and I started working with him. And just through connections of other people that worked with Ramit, or introductions, or I get CC'd on an email as I'm setting up an integration with someone. They're like, hey, I'd love to talk to you. And it just kind of steamrolled on from there, kind of going back to that referral thing, where if you do good work with someone and they enjoy working with you, they're like, oh, I'd love to, this person's looking for this. I'd love to make an introduction. People, even myself, I like introducing people. I like having people I know, and I do make a lot of introductions, people I know work with someone else that I've worked with that is great in the past and have another successful relationship. And I found that the people I work with and the people both above me who are hiring me, as well as my coworkers when I'm working on a client, are the same. So it did kind of just spiral out of that. As far as like actively going after people, I really haven't done much of that on the consulting side. Everything has been a referral that someone says, hey, you're looking for a CRO expert, you should talk to Keith, he knows what he's doing. You're looking for a webinar, you should talk to Keith, he knows what he's doing. And it just kind of spirals out from there. My advice is really to get the first good client, and then I think everything builds out from there. And just for a point of reference, when I was doing this, I lived in the middle of nowhere, Japan. So I was nowhere near my clients. I lived in a town of 6,000 people in middle of nowhere, Japan, who has no idea about marketing. And I was able to kind of build that out. So I hate to say it's the hustle and like working hard, but really once you find a good client and then you work hard for them and then you follow kind of that referral, like, hey, I'm looking to branch out. One of the things that we did for a while is we said, hey, we don't spend money on marketing. We don't spend money on ads. We want to spend that time and effort working for our clients because we love working for our clients. If you have anyone you know that you could recommend to us, that would really help us, because then we don't have to spend time that we could be spending on your stuff working on gathering clients, right? And then those two people trust each other. We have a really great symbiotic relationship at that point.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
definitely.
All right, awesome. I think, I asked all the questions I have, Carlos. If you can jump in. I know sometimes you're busy when you join with your phone. You're either in a meeting or in a car. Oh, there you go.
Definitely. One time I was at the gym, in fact. So thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Keith. So Abdul mentioned a little bit of what I'm doing, and you all can hear me correctly, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I actually created an app, a mobile app that's a digital business card mobile app that is supposedly supposed to simplify the whole networking process.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to do was make sure that I eliminated business cards because of the fact that I lose them all the time, and besides me always leaving them in my hotel room when I would go to do conventions or whatnot. I just didn't want to carry them. So I created this app that simplified it and everything. But I guess really I'm listening to a lot of the stuff that you're doing. It sounds to me a lot simpler for you because of the fact that you're able to code. I have no coding background. My background is being a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to hire, and ultimately it's just difficult for me to get all these things coded when you're a startup from the ground up, bootstrapping startup. So I'm seeing all the issues, but you have a lot of value in what's being said, because it does make a lot of sense. But my main thing is maybe just asking you, if you can check out my app one of these days, and send a couple of feedback notes here and there.
Yeah, sure.
But I do have one thing that you did strike that is interesting is I do have one client, and Abdo can confirm it. It's a local city that wants to utilize the app in conventions, which is
Mm-hmm.
mainly the place that I wanted to put it in. And I'm just trying to give them a good product, because at the end of the day, to me, it's a very valuable approach that if I get in there, I just don't want to give them something that's going to fail
Right.
or get negative reviews. So my thing is more fear. But other than that, I think it's very functional. I like to say that there's many business card apps out there that I've done research on, and this one has a lot of value to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real proud of what I've done. But
That's excellent.
other than that, how many app companies have you worked with, and how could I incorporate Segmetric into my app so that I can get y'all work, so I can get some insight from you?
Yeah, so the Segmetric side, depending on how you are dealing with the CRM or anything like that, we connect straight into the CRM. So if you're sending those leads to your customer CRM, like Infusionsoft or whatever it is, depending, and I'd have to look at the app, you could then connect that straight into Segmetrics. We have an API, so that's definitely possible. It's interesting though, because I think that there is talking about you're not a developer, you're not technical, there is definitely a grass is greener thing, because I know a number of founders who are not technical, and they see that as a benefit, not a detriment. And the reason is because when they have a feature or something they need to build, they have to delegate. And delegating is such an important part of doing a startup and for doing a business. And in my case, I'm like, it will take longer to explain it than it will to code it. And because I like coding, and I'm just like code. And same on the marketing side. It's like, it will take longer to explain it than it will for me to build the webinar. It's like webinar. And suddenly I'm doing everything, and I'm not thinking about the business. And what I thought would take 10 minutes to code took a week, and then have to support it. And then I built all this extra cruft that now I have to take care of because I didn't delegate, right? And I'm not focusing on the most important things because I can do it and I enjoy doing it. And that's a detriment. Whereas if you're not technical, you have to rely on someone else. You have to delegate, and you can then look at the quality, but you're not the one that's having to support that cycle. So I think, and maybe it's a grass is greener, but I think that is a huge benefit, much more than me wasting time on the wrong things because I want to code, right? Now, as for what I would do to how you would find that person in that agency, I would actually stay away from agencies, specifically because there's going to be a lot of overhead. You're not at the point, presumably, where you're ready to spend $80K on a MVP, right? There's a lot of people you can find on TopTal. There's a lot of people. I would ask for recommendations from your friends, from people in the communities, like, hey, do you know someone good? And contract with them. Maybe you work out something where they're co-founder or CTO or something like that, so they do a lower amount of cost for equity or something like that. But then you can work that together into a, hey, let's work together on this, rather than an agency, which is A, going to be expensive because they have so much overhead, and B, is working on 30 different projects at the same time, so it doesn't have the same amount of care into your product, which is actually one of the reasons why I stopped the agency, because I didn't see the same amount of care going into our projects that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my recommendation, is find someone either through recommendations like referrals or through TopTal and try them out on a small project first, but have someone build that MVP that you have the core coding, but those new features, et cetera, and find someone you can trust and work with. And great thing is, if it doesn't work out, you have them start on something small. If it doesn't work out, you find someone else, right? So, but once you find that person, it's so valuable. I worked with this one guy, best developer I've ever worked with in my life. I had a plan of what I wanted. I sent him the stuff. We had an hour and a half call about what I was expecting. He comes, I don't hear from him for a week. He says, I have a question. We get on a 30-minute call. He's like, okay, I got it. Don't hear from him for a week. It comes back. It's perfect. There's no bugs. It's absolutely perfect. And he was a little expensive, but I didn't have to do any work. I could delegate, and he just knocked it out of the park. And that was so valuable to me, right? To not have to waste that brain energy because I was able to find someone that I trusted to do that work.
Definitely. And I think you hit it on the nail when you're saying, we have to just be out there asking and talking about our product to everybody, because there's going to be that one person that might say, hey, you know what, this is valuable to me.
Yeah.
And that person might actually, and that's one thing that Abdo and I have been discussing a lot. And he knows, if I was a coder, I would already stuck in so many features in there and, spent a lot of time and done a lot, but we've actually dialed it down substantially and targeted more of what's important in the functionality itself.
Exactly.
And it's my product is actually past MVP. It's in the iOS store already, and it's already in Google or Google Play. So it's out in the market, and we have actually I last time I think in one of the meetings stated it was like 500 downloads.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's something we're working on, but my fear is just like I mentioned, is going back into that convention and showing it to 2,000-3,000 people and pushing it, and then it just doesn't work.
Here's a hint. I've been doing software demos for 15 years, something like that. They never work. They always screw up. Like, you'll have a perfect piece of software. As soon as you show it to someone, it explodes. Like, you do it more and more. You figure out how to kind of pretend that never happened and quickly push the back button, and you fix it when you get home. Like,
yeah.
But honestly, get out there, like, show it to people. People are excited about this kind of stuff. They always want new technology, new things to play with, new tools that will help them be more effective. And they understand that there's going to be bugs, right? And you can usually talk your way or joke your way through anything. It's like, oh, it deleted all my contacts. Haha, I wonder why, right? Like, you can play off anything, honestly. And the more you do it, the more you're going to be able to get better at that and to have that conversation, and people are just going to laugh along with you, right? But just like me going out there and talking to people, which I don't want to do, the more I do it, the better I get, and the more benefits it gives me.
Cool. Well, my app is called Tag You, TAG, and then you. So whenever you get a chance, if you like to, check it out, I send you. What's cool to me is I'm able to send my card, and it's not a contact card. It's actually a real business card, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm able to send it for, say, cross country. Like if right now I were to be able to find a way, I don't know if you could block out the number or something, Abdo, but I'd like to see maybe if Keith would allow me to share it with him. Would that be a possibility, Abdo?
Maybe after the recording is over.
Perfect. Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
'cause it's also
wrap
live.
it up, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly my thing. I don't want to, but after everything, I guess I'll share it with you. So don't look at it yet. Allow me to kind of go through the process of the invite, and then when you get a chance, tell me if it captures your attention,
Yeah.
or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, I'll be more than glad to hear that constructive criticism and say, hey, you know what, this is crap, and can't just scrap it.
Yeah, I love looking at stuff. I love doing teardowns. So my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right,
very
cool.
much.
Then let's wrap it up. Keith, thank you very much for your insights today. Carlos, Naman, and Ulysses was here earlier. Thank you for being here and for asking questions and interacting. And hopefully this was of value. And guys, if you missed this live guidance session, we look forward to having you live in the next ones. Answer your questions live and contributing to the success of your entrepreneurial journey.